I've always enjoyed this restaurant, so it was good. The acoustics, food, and atmosphere are all appealing to me. These days, a lot of restaurants have this unkempt ceiling style, which destroys the acoustics and amplifies and reflects the noise level to the point that you can't have a peaceful dinner discussion. It was a fancy restaurant that had been built out of an old house. Since individual rooms were kept, there are 7 distinct dining areas spread across 2 stories, with about 6 tables each area, nicely spaced apart to create a pleasant level of intimacy. It was a wonderful setting for a special dinner. Sadly, I did not have a romantic supper this evening. I was eating supper with Sarah, my wife. I was seated at a table with her in one of the lower-level dining areas. She seemed anxious and afraid, moved erratically, and barely glanced at me, but I also detected drive in her. Since coming here, I haven't said anything save what was required to find me a seat and purchase beverages. I sipped my single malt on ice, eyeing my wife while I scanned the menu, trying to decide between the blackberry fillet and the beef tenderloin tornado with Bordeaux sauce. She was still a brilliant, accomplished, physically attractive woman who, until lately, I would kill for. But my feelings for her had soured. I would not have told her this news, among other things, and I would have disrupted her plans for that evening if she hadn't known about my attitude change. John, it's me, John Archibald, 49 years old and a fairly successful software executive. Married for 28 years to the stranger now sitting across from me. Yes, Sarah, I murmured. I wanted to talk to you about something. Well, this will be a nice change, Sarah, she said, her mouth tightening in displeasure as she glanced at me with a hint of wrath. I hoped that my attitude would calm her nerves and make her finally spit out what I knew she wanted. Yes, John, I appreciate your sarcasm. It drew me to you every time. I didn't say more than, "Thank you, Sarah." But in this instance, I wasn't being sarcastic. As I took another shot of whiskey, I maintained eye contact with her until she turned to face the approaching server on her left. As usual, I didn't wait for the woman to place her order first. Upon his arrival at the table, I proceeded to bring him my menu and placed an order for the filet accompanied by Spanish rice and blackberries. Sarah glanced at her menu and decided for a salad, horrified at my apparent indifference to nobles. Who orders a salad at an award-winning steakhouse? Sarah stared at me once more after the waiter departed. John, lately I've been thinking a lot. Concerning you. Concerning me. All right, let's talk about us. And I wanted to talk to you about my ideas. By the grace of God, there is an immeasurable difference between late and too late, I responded. I apologize, Sarah said. 1 day overdue and $1 short, I moaned. Sarah, don't stop screaming in the rain. You were always prepared to do so. John, you're not really helpful. I mean it. What topic did you wish to discuss? Sarah, I guess, there really isn't a simple way to put it. Using my thumb and fingers on both sides of the glass, I gently shook my drink and wiped away any moisture. Just say what's on your mind. She trailed off. Well, I want to try a period of separation. John, nothing is permanent. Just a chance for me to go further into my ideas. A breakup? No. She gave me a startled, direct glance. She raised her head too rapidly to keep it up, causing a strand of her blonde hair to fall into her face. I apologize. What does no mean? It would be beneficial for us to part. And Sarah, I don't want you to fall in love with me again. I grinned. This will help me fall in love with you again. A soft smile, not one of triumph, affection, or condescension. A smile that can be used to mock a child who is vehemently disagreeing about having to play for an additional 10 minutes before bed. Sarah, I'm done with your attempts to defend your inappropriate actions. What came first? You require the space to examine things with my replacement. What the hell are you talking about, John? Was it your crush on me, or the permission you gave yourself to find my replacement? You have to admit that our marriage has gotten stale, and I believe that taking some time apart would help us figure out how to remedy this and get back to where we were. Yes, Sarah, our marriage has stagnated. I did not replace you, and I am not looking for a replacement for you. In actuality, it has been inert for a while, and I have been trying to change this on my own for the past 2 years. Regretfully, Our marriage was being worked on by only one individual up until lately. However, there are currently three. These three are obviously working in distinct directions. I held up my hand to deflect the inevitable criticism. You took my position, Sarah. You betrayed me. And now you want me to sign a contract so you can continue to pursue this relationship? Not your connection with me, but your relationship with Dan is what you want to explore when you split up. Sarah, I'm not letting this happen. She was looking at me and twisted a napkin in her fists in anger. You're mistaken, she hissed quietly. Dan is neither your substitute, nor did I cheat on you with him. Sarah, are you implying that even though you haven't had sex with Dan yet, you have cheated on me and replaced me with him? She had an uncomfortable appearance. John, please keep your voice down. We don't need to publicly announce our issues. Sarah, why? You completed it already. Who else, except me, did you discuss this idea of separation with? She now had a really uncomfortable appearance. Well, I think I talked to Dan about it a few times, and our food arrived right at this moment. And the fact that you talked to Dan about our marriage issues before you talked to me about them? Making a decision about our marriage with Dan and then informing me about it. Not asking but telling me? Is that not dishonest? Dan makes a bigger contribution to our marriage than I do. As the plates were arranged in front of us, she remained silent and roiled. The young girl, who appeared a bit uncomfortable, received a wink from me. Sarah growled at me once again, calling me a vile for talking about it. Dan has been nothing but polite, thoughtful, and responsive throughout our friendship. He is also an eager listener and advisor. I know I can depend on him. He does not condemn me. Rather, he respects and understands me. Our waiter stopped over to see how we were doing. Is this disgusting, Sarah? You have destroyed our future, you are an adulterer, and you denigrate our marriage, our past, and my intelligence. Dan has to be peeled. He is more intelligent than a boiled onion. Instead of lying, I would have assumed you would be cheating. Sure, I'm grateful. My meal looks fantastic. As our server waited patiently for me to cut into my fillet and confirmed that it was cooked to my request, I chirped to him. I don't appreciate what you do, John. Sarah was obviously uncomfortable talking about things in such an open way. I don't tell lies. You're mistaken about Dan, and I'm telling the truth. Indeed, I believe you would enjoy him. John, he's a much like you in many respects. Well, Sarah, I'm relieved that you see Dan and me as being equals. You have no idea how much it makes me happy. To me, you seem insane. For the record, Dan and I are not alike in any meaningful sense. I don't interfere in other people's marriages in an attempt to break them up. I won't play his games, and I don't indulge other men's spouses either. Sarah, you cheated on me. You bring your triumphs and worries to Dan. You talk to him about our private lives, ask for his counsel, his companionship, his communication, everything you cease disclosing to me. You make me ill, you traitor who hasn't given yourself up physically yet. I took a mouthful of the fillet and chewed it with delight, then glanced at her astonished expression. Setting down his fork, he sipped on some water. Sarah was staring at me carefully as I looked up. Obviously, this news hurt you, John. I didn't mean to hurt you. Hell no, Sarah. Is that true? Simply put, you've gone insane. You kept it a secret because you were well aware that cheating on me would damage me. You meant no harm to me, did you? Besides, you weren't deliberately attempting to protect me either. I threw $200 on the table, shoved my dish aside, and grabbed my wallet. I got up from the table, finished the whiskey, and turned to face Sarah. I said, Sarah, I won't allow separation. My divorce was filed. We got divorced. Sarah obstinately objected, requesting absurd requirements and consultations. She insisted that I meet with her to talk about our marriage before she would sign the divorce papers or make a sincere effort to negotiate. I declined. I assured her that I would speak with her only after the divorce was finalized. I wanted a divorce, and eventually I did, even though I wanted to avoid a tense divorce so we could continue to be cordial to our children and grandchildren. After dividing everything in half, I departed. Sarah wrote me a scathing message, asking why I didn't stand up for her and gave up on our marriage. How do you like this level of madness? I gave her a picture of herself sultrying Dan in return. 3 days after I left the restaurant, she graciously sent me this picture of herself in retaliation. It's been 2 whole days since our date. How self-control. She never responded to me regarding this matter. I don't frequently go on dates. I am no Casanova, and I would rather be alone with my kids, grandkids, and close friends than to have my ashes scattered all over the place. My kids were initially on Sarah's side. They were unaware of the horrific things Sarah had done. Believed that I had fallen short in my paternal duties. I asked them if they would tolerate it if their spouse made it obvious that they were no longer loved and began seeing someone else after outlining my viewpoint to them. Would they consent to a divorce so that their cheating partner might pursue an extramarital affair free from the embarrassment and trouble that a partner would probably bring? All right, I was unable to. Sarah stopped making a sincere effort to work out our marital issues, and instead of talking to me about them, she confided in and discussed the future of my marriage with someone else, and that was simply unacceptable. My children eventually came to understand, and although their relationship with their mother slightly soured, our relationship got better. Sarah and I are simultaneously happier and less content. We are happier that we made our own route forward and are not as happy because we are alone. Within 2 years of our divorce, Sarah got married again and got divorced again. No, she never married Dan, and other than that one night, they never shared a bed. I never got married once more. I relocated to the country and retired early. I'm glad I don't have to waste energy on a woman who doesn't deserve or want me there. I've been here ever since. However, I miss the woman I married and the things I believed we could accomplish together. I rejoiced in leaving a tired marriage to a woman I no longer knew, respected, or loved, but I also lamented its loss. Our happy years gradually came to an end, and Sarah eventually moved out. Though she was the one who ended our marriage, I was the one who did so. Matrimony is challenging. Divorce is difficult. Life is challenging.